about us already. So, can you go back a slide, please? Oh, I can do it. You're right. Beautiful. Thank you. So anyways, my name is Adam Greenberg, CEO and co-founder of IUNU, and we set out to grow the best plants in the world using innovative lighting as well as automated controls. So first, I want to just address the tech. First of all, we have a hand-picked spectrum. As you can see on the back here, we spend a lot of time pulling out the UVA and UVB, which really adds the nutrients, the taste, gives you the higher vitamin content. Then we added the blue. The blue spectrum is what you need to grow lettuce, anything with leafy greens. And then we added red. Red is what you need to grow fruits. For vegetables, you need that for tomatoes. You need that for any type of fruit, as well as for cannabis. And finally, we added far red. Far red is what you need for higher internode spacing, which the sun doesn't do that well. So we actually have 3 to 4 times more yield than the sun does based on our far red spectrum. Together, this creates the most beneficial spectrum in the world. And what's great about this is it's also fully programmable. So after this, you can come find me and I will show you how we can take this from a blue spectrum to a red spectrum and how we can do it all automatically through just radio controls. Next, I want to talk about the specs. Real quick, we only take 500 watts compared to all of our competitors who take 1,000 watts. We only give off 1,000 BTUs of heat compared to our competitors who give off 4,000 BTUs of heat. What does this allow us to do? It allows less ducting, less HVAC, which means less electricity. Then it also allows for less water evaporation. It allows for less nutrient intake. So together, with all this together, you have farmers saving 60% of their OPEX, which is their most important factor, is their operational expense. Next, I wanted to address the questions about traction and customers. We have 6 months waiting in line. This is important because, well, we're lucky because traction's not an issue. Our sales pipeline, right now we have about $58 million in our sales pipeline. And I mean, we're lucky enough to say that we get to be in the business of taking incoming calls. And so this has been highly beneficial for where we're at as a company today. And finally, your next question is going to be, how do we fill $58 million worth of product? Well, manufacturing. We have one of the largest Asian contract manufacturers in the world who's now an investor, which I'm excited to say today. As well as to help us scale, they're helping us find 3 to 4 or 5 sources from around the world to make sure that we create the best product for the lowest cost. So in the end, got to wrap up here. I just want you to remember the name IUNU, because in a year from now, we're really excited to be everywhere, and we hope that it's something that you'll all understand how to pronounce. When you see IUNU, it's pronounced IUNU. Thank you.
All right, third time's the charm. Jed, I know you had a lot to say about the company, so we'll start with you.
So from what I understand, you're selling to indoor farms.
Correct.
Right? And so what is that sales process like? Let me ask it a different way. How difficult is it for the people that run those farms to make the decision to take down whatever lighting they're using and put yours in? It seems like a pretty big decision.
So our market last year was over $1 billion, and 20% of that was brand new. We're not even talking about retrofitting. So that's where the easy sell comes in. Now, when you're talking about retrofitting, it's quite simple because what we do is we also offer financing, up to $10 million worth of financing. We actually use Apple's financing company. They've worked really well with us. As well as because of our OPEX savings, for them switching over to this light, they pay for itself within 9 to 12 months. So from a business perspective for them, it's a no-brainer.
Just a quick follow-up though. Yeah. Do they have to go through a long process of removing whatever is in there and then putting yours in? Is that like does that take a month to do?
Great question. So that has to be done at the end of the cycle of a plant. You don't want to disrupt it. But ultimately, they take it all down. There's usually 3 or 4 pieces. This is the one that's all-in-one plug-and-play. Takes 120, 240. That was important to us. So it's the all-in-one plug-and-play, and they just plug it in. It works right away, and they can scale up quite quickly. As well as you also asked about the sales cycle for this. It's quite short because we have data to prove it.
Okay.
Cool. So are you going after like new grow facilities?
Yeah. So
what does that look like? I mean, that's kind of where you were headed. I mean, I think there's a huge market probably in the next 24 months for the states that are actually approving medicinal marijuana. Correct?
Correct, and that's actually our market's $1.4 billion right now,
right,
just for indoor horticultural lighting. So it's a lot bigger than most people think. But
in the U.S.?
In the world right now. And then for these coming online right now, that's not even factored in there. So for these new ones coming on, it's been quite easy for us to sell. We are very focused on the West Coast, but this also is a big commercial play because we have supplemental greenhouse lighting here. California is actually going to be our biggest market because there's a lot of agricultural experts as well as the large commercials. To say a few, we've all heard of Driscoll's. Today, berries can't be grown indoors because the heat output of lights are too high. Well, we're 25% of the heat of everything else that exists today, which now maybe means that berries are possible indoors. So things like that make it very easy to get into the commercial scale. The question is, who are we going to go after, and which one are we going to pick to feed next?
Is this a razor blade model with bulbs being the long-term revenue growth, or is it really that you have to replace every couple of years these units?
Two things. I'm glad you asked that. Thank you. This is a software and a hardware play. What's important is that with this, it's the first single point source fully tunable light between spectrums, which means that we have lighting recipes. So imagine Emerald Live having high lycopene tomatoes, which people are willing to pay more for at Costco today. And he has a special recipe that makes them extra juicy. You can then he will push that recipe up there, and he will sell you his recipe, to which you can then download it. And and the lighting recipe will then grow your tomato the way Emerald likes his tomato to be grown. So that's one way of looking at it. Again, what was the other question?
The bulb versus the
Bulb
power
is
unit.
$75 a piece. There's two of them in there. Hold on one second. Those two tiny little bulbs, I wish I could turn it on. Come find me after if you want to see it. The two bulbs in there put off 50,000 lumens. So it's blinding.
Would that mean if you turned it on, we'd catch fire?
It is UL listed, it's safe. It's not black magic.
How often do they have to be replaced, the bulbs?
Once a year, we're working on a 2-year bulb right now. So it is sort of a razor blade model from the bulb side, but as well as the software side, because the lighting recipes are very important.
And what's your margin on the bulbs?
I can't disclose that because this is a public. I was told not to disclose anything I didn't want the whole world to see.
And are you already installed in a number of places? You said you have data, so
Correct.
how long have you been installed? Like, is it long enough to?
We've been testing for a year. We've been selling for 6 months. As you can see, Microsoft is behind us here. They've reordered twice. So we're working with them to create something that will be fully sustainable. And we're growing lettuce.
Microsoft has a farm?
It's actually a big pull for their employees. Their employees are very passionate about sort of the ecosystem and being green. And so they can grow this for 50 cents a pound, which most people today, when you buy organic lettuce, you're paying closer to $1 to $4 a pound. So we actually make it economically viable as well as hyper-local.
And is there a home market for this as well? I mean, you've just talked about the commercial market, but.
Are you going to finance frat houses? Let's get down to brass tacks here. There's a lot of money. Frat houses.
So our target market does not include frat houses, unfortunately. I'm sorry. But we do take credit cards, and I will ship one to your frat house wherever you are. I can take it here if you'd like.
Apparently, yeah.
We understand that commercially, that's very important to go there first, because we're talking about huge orders. We're talking orders that are anywhere individually between $8 and $36 million that are materializing very slowly. And so because of that, we understand that the commercial setting is going to be very easy to fill all of our capacity and bring up capacity to get the price down, which then means the consumer model is very rational. And then we can start talking about 2 refrigerators in every home, one to store food and one to grow food, where you can then start having a second stainless steel refrigerator where you open up a different door and you could have tomatoes growing in there and you could have lettuce growing in there. I mean, we're talking about, with this right here, is this industry standards 4 foot by 4 foot. And this right here puts off 24 7.5 pound organic heads of lettuce every 3 weeks. And that's just from the spectrum. And you don't need soil. These all behind me right here are all just with seaweed extract, organic, with water. And that's all it takes to grow it. Because light really is what matters to plants. And that's something that most people don't know, is that light is the main driving factor.
Do you have anybody on your team who has sold into the people you're selling to?
Yes.
Who?
We have a horticultural consultant who's spent a lot of time consulting for different businesses in Washington, in Canada, in Colorado, as well as in California. And the whole point of this is to get into the gurus of the industry, because the hydroponic industry is not very well known to any of us. And so what we're able to do is we can get the people who can talk about it and they try it, and we still have yet to give one away, and people are willing to pay full price. They try it, and everyone starts saying, oh, look at these lights, these are amazing, and it just sort of spreads. We're finding ourselves on blogs, on different social media that we never even thought. Come find me. Thanks, guys.